Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to The Book Refuge. Hey everybody, so today I am bringing you what I hope will be kind of a rapid fire recommendation. I'm not saying that means the video will be short, but it means that I'm not going to go into full detail about every book I'm about to show you, because if you notice from the title, this is going to be binge-worthy series or series that are mostly complete. I do think that I have one series that I'm sharing that isn't complete, but it has at least 4 books in it already, and all the other ones are completed series that right now you can go and read the whole thing. Also, most of the series I'm going to share are on KU. If I know they're not, I'll try to share. Otherwise, as of filming this, I believe that 90% of the books I'm going to share are also on KU. And one of the reasons why I wanted to pump up KU again is the KU price per page has really went down recently for authors, and there are some of our indie authors who are full-time at what they do that having their books per page read go down so much is really affecting their business. So I'm kind of trying to do a bit of just like what I can do as a, book recommender and like influencer in that way, to, maybe help you find a series that you didn't know you could binge at all right now. Also, a lot of these have audios where if you get the KU book, you'll be able to get a discount on the audio. That happens for a lot of these as well. So yeah, I know not everyone wants to pump up Amazon, but a lot of the authors we love have their books in KU, and also a lot of readers who I love readers out there just like me. This is the best way that they get access to it. So I have some of each, I have some of everything, I have some stuff that kind of touches every type of series. So I'm going to show them to you. I'm literally surrounded by books right now and I'm so happy. So also, just FYI, there isn't really any of these series that is going to be completely fresh and new to those of you who are longtime viewers of my channel. I just want to put it out there. But maybe you who are watching, you can still add something to this conversation by either giving me like a yay for one of the ones I'm recommending, or put forward your favorite series that is completely bingeable right now. So here we go. Starting with a series that, I just absolutely adore. It has 4 books. It is Mafia, and it is surprisingly quite humorous, very sexy, and a series that is a complete 6-star series for me. And that, of course, is the Queens and Monsters series. I have my beautiful, I wouldn't call these fully discreet because there are still some naked man chests, but we'll say kind of the dark black and white covers. Oops, they're in the wrong order. We have Ruthless Creatures, we have Carnal Urges, we have Savage Hearts, and we have Brutal Vows. And this is the series that really cemented J.T. Geisinger as a favorite of mine. It is a series that I have convinced many people to read so far. The audiobooks are spectacular, and again, you can book your way through this series right now. Jen, you're not going into every book in the series. We're just doing the highlights. So these are semi-dark. There are some content warnings for some of them, but mostly these are just very sexy, dark mafia monsters who fall for their women and make them their queens. That is the best pitch I can give for this series. If you want more detail on those, you can check out one of my mafia romance rec videos, and I am sure that I have went into detail on the Queens and Monsters in one of those. Then we have a series that just recently finished off. Now, all the books are available for you to work your way through. There are audiobooks for 5 out of the 7 books currently. For 6 out of the 7 books, you'll be able to snag the audios for. And of course, that is the Stay as Spell series by the wonderful Juliet Cross. Grim and Barrett just came out this month. In an absolutely fantastic and beautiful book. This series starts with Wolf Gone Wild, which is a werewolf and a witch. It's just absolutely delightful. Look how beautiful it is. Look at how beautiful it is. Let's do it. Let's take a little peek. There's this. There are the Kickstarter for the hardcover editions of this book that is starting on June 1st. You don't want to miss out on that. If you love this series. But if you haven't yet, this series is heartwarming and fun. It is a family affair. These are 6 sisters in New Orleans who are all witches with different types of powers. There's no family drama in this series, but it does have different tropes in each one. There is like acquaintance to lovers kind of here. There is kind of like dislike or mistrust to love in this one. There's friends to lovers here. We have kind of an enemies or dislike to lovers here. We have a second chance romance here. And we have an absolutely head over heels bubblegum deliciousness that is Grim and Barrett. So highly recommend. These are humorous, these are fun. They have rising steam levels kind of throughout the series, but also just so heartwarming and beautiful. It just has to be mentioned. And now that it is complete, there's nothing to hold you back. You can read them all in one sitting if you want. You can just dive in. It's fantastic. All right, then we have the series, sorry, I have these all stacked, that isn't completely complete yet. There will be 5 books in this series, but it has quickly become one of my favorites in the last like 6 months. I have just adored this series so much. I actually just read the arc of the newest book in the series, which comes out in less than 2 weeks from now. There are audiobooks for all of these. There will be audiobook for the 4th book the day it's released. That, of course, is Chestnut Springs. So this starts with Flawless, which is a bull riding hero and kind of his like publicist / babysitter that gets sent to travel with him. I just love this couple so much. Then there is, of course, Heartless, which is a grumpy single dad who is a ranch owner, and Willa, who ends up being his nanny, his live-in nanny for the summer. There is Powerless, which is a kind of runaway bride and then a friends to lovers scenario for these two. And then there is Reckless, which is a secret baby. Yeah, it's a secret baby and a reverse grumpy sunshine. We have a sunshine hero and a grumpy heroine. And yeah, that one, I just read it and absolutely loved it. Gave that one 6 stars as well. And the audiobook, like I said, will release the day of with that one. So those are Chestnut Springs. And I mean, actually, I recommend Elsie Silver's other series as well, but I haven't finished that one yet. And I'm trying to only recommend ones where I've like read them all. So I am definitely not the first booktuber or bookstagrammer or book talker to recommend you Elsie Silver's books, but I'm doing it anyway because they're my favorites too. Then we have another Mafia one, which I only grabbed the first book of this one because they were in a very difficult spot to grab, but I do have most of the books in this series. And this one is one that I'm not saying every book in the series is a gem, okay? I'm not saying that. But this is a series that I could not put it down. I was so addicted from this first book, and I binged all of them within 2 days. Could not put them down, could not stop. And so I always like to recommend them to other people, knowing that you are going to go on a ride with this series, okay? And that is The Morelli Family by Sam Mariano. And there are, I think, like 7 books in the main series, and then there are some like novella things, and then there's an 8th book that is about like a different part of the family. But I absolutely love this series. Like I do, because it just like blew my mind, and the places that Sam Mariano goes with this series and like the rules that she breaks I was not expecting. I was not expecting her to go there with this series, and she absolutely does. So yeah, Accidental Witness is book 1. And this one is when there is Mia, who, as it says, is an accidental witness to a crime, and then makes herself kind of a target for a nephew to like a crime boss. And now he has to watch her and make sure she doesn't tell what she saw. And he becomes a little bit obsessed with her as well. So it has a bit of stalking happening. But then the series goes completely off the rails. Like, whoa. I've still never read anything like the Morelli Family. And I'm not saying that that's good. I'm not saying there needs to be another series like that. But I'm saying never read anything like it. Never. Now, let's go a little more wholesome. And we have a small town, like each brother gets a book series. And that is the Bailey Brothers by Claire Kingsley. I'm so happy that I have the original covers for these. It makes me so happy. So it all starts with Protecting You, which is really kind of novella length. And this one sets up the family and sets up a couple. So this sets up Grace Miles, who she is the younger half-sister of the Miles family, the Miles brothers, the Miles series. And that leads into this. But this is the first series that I read. But there is protecting you and fighting for us. So this one even says, it says the series origin story, and it's listed as #1, but it's really kind of a 0.5. But these two books are about the same couple. So there's something crazy that happens here, and our hero actually gets put in prison for something that he does, and his fiance has been waiting for him all this time, and now he gets out of prison at the beginning of this book, and he is expecting to be, just never to be with this heroine. He's expecting never to be with her, and she's been waiting for him all this time. So that starts off this series. But then, actually the first book I ever read in the series was unraveling him. This is a mechanic, a grumpy sunshine. The heroine's actually a mechanic as well. This one is rushing in. This one is so fun. And this one I think is Boss's daughter. This is Chasing Her Fire. This is Enemies to Lovers, One Night Stand, Surprise Baby. And this one is Star-Crossed Lovers, Rewriting the Stars. And it's just beautiful. So those are the Bailey brothers. The audiobooks for those are also excellent. Love it. All right. Then we have one of the series that I still have to recommend because it was one of my favorite marathoning sessions that I've had. It really was. This is also a series where the books are not perfect. And if the first book doesn't work for you, the series probably won't. I totally understand it. This is also a series where I love the series as a whole more than I really love any individual romance. And that's just not going to work for some people. Completely understand. No problem at all if this doesn't vibe for you. I've had some of my best friends read it and be like, not for me. And I've been like, totally understand. This one also isn't in KU, but the audiobooks are great. And I actually snagged the audiobooks when there was an audiobook sale, so I got them for pretty cheap. But that is The Sons of the Survivalist by Cherise Sinclair. So the first one is not a hero. It has a heroine on a run, and she ends up in Rescue, Alaska. And we have a grumpy sheriff who absolutely does not want to be sheriff of this small town, but he's really kind of been blackmailed into it by his dead father. And he really just doesn't give a hoot about it. But he finds something very interesting and suspicious about this new woman, this stranger who showed up in town. And we go from there, because then we have this. Then we have Lethal Balance. This one is a surprise kid. So the hero in this one, he is was he in the Army or Special Ops? He was in Special Ops, and he didn't know that he had a kid with a lady he had a one-night stand with until her mother has died and she's been in foster care, and he finally gets contacted to be her dad. And so that was really beautiful. What you see, this is a bar owner and a heroine who comes to town because she finds out that her the sister of her heart, her bestie, has been sucked into a cult. That we've definitely seen this cult happening in the other books, and she's kind of been roped into it, her and her son. And so this woman just picks up her life, goes to stay in Rescue, Alaska to do some sleuthing and see if she can rescue her friend. But she's been told that there is a spy on the police force, so she doesn't think she can trust anyone there. And then we have Soar High, and this one is about said friend who needs rescuing and her little boy. And then we also have a wounded hero with PTSD who just doesn't know what to do, and this little boy just bonds onto him and just sees him as his hero, and he doesn't know if he can handle that. But this one has beautiful sexual healing in it, and all the found family, because now we have all these couples who've built up this beautiful family, and when these religious fanatics come for them, they are biting off more than they can chew with the Sons of the Survivalist. So I highly recommend this. But again, this is a series where the series as a whole means more to me than any individual couple does. I love the family, the found family, the fact that these are 4 brothers who were all adopted by this wacky survivalist in Alaska, and he was their dad, and he taught them so much when he was someone that people never would have expected him to take on these kids. It's amazing. All right, then we have a couple historical series. So first, okay, I recommend so many Lisa Kleypas, y'all. I really do. I recommend you read all the Lisa Kleypas. She is a super super marathonable or bingeable author, if you will. And you can start all the way back with the Wallflowers and then read the Hathaways and then read the Ravenels, and you can go all the way through those and have a marvelous time. But the series that I recently just reread a couple of the books in and that I think is just so charming and I just love with my whole heart is the Hathaway series, the Hathaway siblings. And so I highly, highly recommend this. It starts with Mine Till Midnight, then there's Seduce Me at Sunrise, then Tempting Me at Twilight, Married by Morning, and finally Love in the Afternoon. The audiobooks are all wonderful. These heroes are all fantastic in their own way. You again have all the different couples. There's a little bit of like childhood friends to lovers. There's some enemies to lovers. There's marriage convenience. There is class difference. It has all the things in it, and it's just beautiful. Then I wasn't able to get one of these out of there, but another author who's very bingeable, and her audiobooks are all on AnyPlay, as well as she's pretty easy to get from a lot of libraries, is Elisa Braden. You can start with the Rescued from Ruin series if you'd like, which there are 12 books in that series, which, yeah, you can binge through those. It's a great time. There is also her Midnight in Scotland series, which only has 3 books out so far, but in my opinion, like, they are her very best books. The Midnight in Scotland series is excellent, so I highly recommend those. We're still waiting for more to come out, but it's not like there's a huge cliffhanger. It's just I want her to put more of those books out. I would like them. Okay, then I would love to share the Kindled Series by Claire Kent. These are my beautiful hardbacks that I just got. These aren't special edition. You can buy these on Amazon. Like, if you go to any of these books, you'll see it. The original covers are beautiful. These hardbacks are beautiful. But this series, you can either start with Last Light, which is kind of a like standalone, or I wouldn't fully call it a prequel to the series because events in this are like happening about the same time as this. But this was the book that I started with. This one also does have an audiobook. But yeah, this one, it's an age gap. This is apocalypse series at the end of the world kind of thing. And they're both from the same small town, and they end up traveling together and end up having a sexual relationship together for comfort reasons. And Claire Kent just has a special way of reading. Like, her books are so comforting, even when we're in dangerous situations. And I don't know how that works, y'all. I don't know how it works, but I love it. So there's Last Light. And then officially this is the Kindled series right now, but I always, when I explain it, I'm like, you can start with Last Light. It's great. But if you want to start with a shorter one to see, you can start with Haven, which this one is novella length. And this one is about a town called Haven, which does kind of become a center focus for the series. Like, every book in here, we come by Haven at some point because it's a safe place that's been guarded by these young people who have turned it into a safe haven. And they're also the ones kind of like progressing back towards, you know, civilization to a certain degree. They will give, you know, they will give safety to those who need it. They will work together to, you know, maybe put together a rescue plan if someone is stuck by some scavengers or what's called wolf packs in here. These roving wolf packs of like killers and rapists and such. And it's just very, very moving. I love it. Then there's Princess. This one is a completely different thing where we start in a bunker at the beginning of this. It's a really like rich kind of privileged girl and her like bodyguard slash security that her father had hired to help get her to the bunker. And then we see like how things are like degrading in the bunker and when people finally want to get out, and then how crazy the world actually is like once they get out. Then we have Embers. This is a dead boyfriend's dad, and they end up being the only 2 survivors staying in this cabin for years and years as feelings grow and build between them. And it's very angsty, but it's also very sexy and also just a very protective, like grumpy hero. This one definitely gave me a lot of like Bethel vibes. So does Last Light, by the way. Last Light is the one that like really very first gave me Bethel vibes, but I hadn't read this one yet. This one definitely has some of that as well, for sure. And then there is Hero, and this one is let's see, who was he? Was he her? Okay, former stepdad's younger brother. That's how this worked out. So there was like 8 people all staying in this cabin in the woods kind of thing, and her, as we said, the stepdad had died. And it's his younger brother, and he's actually a young father, because when he showed up at the safe place when everything is happening, he had brought with him his girlfriend, and eventually they ended up like being pregnant and having a baby, and now everyone else had died, and it's just the two of them trying to keep this little girl safe and raise her, and like, it's really beautiful. So those are the books in there. This is also a series that isn't complete. She's said up to 10 books that will come, but I just want to mention it. It's a beautiful series to binge it, and I love it so dearly. Then, of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Brutal Birthright series. Now, I just grabbed the 4 that are usually sitting behind me here because I didn't want to take apart my beautiful display here, okay? But it starts with Brutal Prince. You can get the audiobook, you can get the ebook, you can get any of the covers, okay? They're absolutely beautiful. This, of course, I have the lovely illustrated edition right here. Ooh, of course I landed on the spicy picture right there. These are all illustrated by Lena, who is a friend of the channel, a friend of mine. But of course, this is a Mafia series. This first one feels almost like a Mafia rom-com. We say that. It's like a bit of a dark rom-com. It's a forced marriage of, like a marriage to unite two families. And then we go from there. We have the Beauty and the Beast retelling. That's a captor-captive here. We have a like heist novel here with a mechanic heroine. We have a second chance romance that literally will leave your heart bloody and aching. We have the cowboy romance that is Broken Vow, and we have the I don't know, the beginning of a new dynasty with Heavy Crown would probably be the way I would say it. So I'm obviously a huge Sophie Lark stan. The quote on my arm here is actually from Broken Vow, so I'm a bit biased. We all know it. But that doesn't take away the fact that I loved this series enough to get a fucking tattoo for it. So take that as your recommendation, okay? Okay. All right, then we have another series that I just grabbed the first book because there are like 19 books in this series, but this is a series that I myself binged it all within 1 month back in, oh Lord, was it 2020? I think it was 2020 that I was binging these, because I think I was working from home. But there is the Immortals After Dark series, and it's fantastic. It's just the very bestest, okay? This series started with A Hunger Like No Other and goes on to be all of these books right here. There are vampires and lycae and witches and warlocks and demons and fae. It has everything. It has Valkyrie, it has badass females, it has fated mates. It's fantastic, and especially if you fall into the audiobooks of these ones, you are going to have a great time. These ones aren't in KU. The audiobooks, I did personally buy every single audio. I own all of them because they're not a part of that. But in my opinion, they're a great investment. I love rereading these books when I'm having a rough time. There's something special about them for sure. So, highly recommend. Then, you know, we had to have some monster romance, and this is a perfect opportunity to show out my beautiful Fae Crate editions of the Spider's Mate series by Tiffany Roberts. Yes, this is a spider alien romance, and I don't regret it one bit that I absolutely adore this. Ivy has been stranded on this planet, and she gets woken up by Catan, who takes her back to his nest and tries to keep her alive. But there's a lot of forces trying to keep them apart, including the fact that they are, you know, different species. And there's also an evil spider queen who's trying to force Catan to be her mate. And yeah, it's super intense and beautiful. There is an audiobook for the first one currently. The other ones should be out throughout this year. We'll get the next two. These are on KU, and you can binge them now, along with many other wonderful books by Tiffany and Robert. They're magnificent. Then we do have another Mafia series. This is the Perfectly Imperfect series by Neva Altaj. I just have, I'm missing book 2 right now because I have it in another place. I'm annotating a copy of that right now. But this has like the Bratva and Italian Mafia and the Cosa Nostra. They, the first few are kind of like Mafia light in some aspects. There are arranged marriages and there's some captor-captive, but there's no real like non-con or things happening between the couples at all. The one that is the darkest is the most recent, which is Fractured Souls, but again, there isn't any like non-con or stuff between them. She has just been through a lot of trauma, so that book is a little bit darker. So yeah, we do have Painted Scars, and then there's Broken Whispers. Then there is Hidden Truths, Ruined Secrets, and Stolen Truths, as well as the last one I just showed you. So I love this series. She has plans for quite a few more books in this series as well. And I think she just strikes a really good balance between, again, some of them being kind of lighthearted, but also having heroes that are absolutely obsessed with their women in beautiful ways. And then the last series I want to share is actually a motorcycle series that I love to bring up now and then because I actually binged the first 4 and then the 5th one came out not too long after. I think there are audiobooks for the first 2 currently and they're working on the others. But this is the, is this the Devil MC? The Royal Bastards MC. And the first book started as like a collab with a bunch of authors who were writing for the Royal MC different chapters of it. And then eventually Misty like kept writing books in her series. So this first one is an age gap. And it isn't captive, but like the hero gets assigned to protect her. So it's kind of like bodyguard, but also is like keeping her captive to keep her safe. But like her father agreed to it. I also have beautiful signed copies of these, which I love. So there's that one. This one is a age gap. She was his dead friend's daughter scenario, so definitely. Also the hero has a teacup chihuahua named Karen, who's the sweetest thing ever. There's Bexley's biker. This one is a lawyer for the MC, and Loki, who is the VP. And this one is pretty kinky and fun. This one is a secret baby. It's like an accidental secret baby type of one. This is Riley's biker. And then this one is Petra's bikers, and this one is an MMF. And yeah, there's 2 of the bikers, and then a heroine who actually had a lot of sexual trauma, and these men kind of help her through it. So there you go. Those are a bunch of different series that you can dive into and start marathoning right now. I will link the first book in every series down below, so you can check those out. Definitely, like I said, if you're able to binge some of these in KU, that's very helpful to the authors. If not, if you're just buying them for yourself, I mean, that's helping authors too. So there's that. But thank you so much for watching this, my friends, and I will see you next time.